Okay, let's start off by saying this. Claudio Ranieri. All right. This is going to be the Premier League most underrated players in Premier League history, right? I'm going to name these people, and some people might be shocked. That's what when I mention these names is because I don't think the average mind, the average football fan knows their impact. You know what I'm saying? Their impact on the league. How a lot of the great players will remember them, right? A lot of the great players remember these guys, and probably the average footballer fan, we wouldn't even know. You know what I'm saying? So unlike the other one with the greatest 11, I'm gonna explain into depth with each selection that I choose. So the most underrated Premier League manager of all time is, to me, is Ranieri. He won it. I'm talking about the odds. People had Leicester City finishing 16th, 12th place. I had them finishing 12th that year. And I felt like they were gonna come up a little bit, and then they would gradually improve. You know what I'm saying? Never to know your why. Like I'm just saying with what he was working with. Look, I know he got Conte. I know he got Vardy. I know he brought in Riyadh, or I don't think he brought some of these players in, but I know he brought in Conte. He bought Conte from Cayenne. But I'm just saying, you don't win the Premier League with guys like Mark Albrighton. You know what I'm saying? Like Mark Albrighton. Who else? Wes Brown. You know what I'm saying? They had a lot of drink water. These guys are not. This is not a team. Like if you look up the lineup, I don't know if I can bring it up because I'm on OBS right now. I don't think I can bring it up and show you. But you know what? Oh, since I'm here, let me look up the lineup real quick because I'm gonna explain this to you. How impressive for Leicester to win the Premier League that year with all the money that they were spending. Leicester City team. I'm going to look it up for you guys. 2015-2016 squad. I got to see because yeah, they had I know yeah, Vardy, but I'm just saying Okazaki, yeah, Danny Simpson, Fuchs, yeah, and Marco Brighton, Drinkwater. These players like that, I'm talking about they were starting. you don't you don't win titles with players like that starting. You know what I'm saying? It takes a whole team full of impressive players to win. I'm talking about your domestic league, whatever your home league title, your domestic league. It takes a whole team effort. Everybody's got to be good, especially when you're talking about English Premier League, La Liga. You know what I'm saying? Serie A, League those Bundesliga, those it requires everybody has to be solid, bro. Some of these players they would even make benches of most of these. They would be practicing with the reserve. Some of these players, you don't win titles with players like that. I know they had Conte and all those guys, right? I know that. I know they had Maris. I know they had Vardy, another underrated player, but I'm just saying to win with Danny Simpson, some of these guys, come on, like you know what I'm saying. And I knew Claudio Ranieri was underrated when I saw Ferguson. He kind of gave like an underhanded compliment, try to give Steve Walsh, the assistant, a little bit more credit. I'm like, oh yeah, he did a good job. He did a good job. Ooh, I already knew. I already knew. Now, this is the most that to me because with that squad, you don't win leagues. You don't win a league with a squad like that, and he did it. So next, the most underrated goalkeeper in Premier League history, Carlo Cudicini. Needless to say, before Thibaut Courtois, it was Petr Cech. But people forget Petr Cech, when he came in, he was replacing a legend in Kudicini. People forget how good he was. And if you really look up his stuff, him being a Golden Glove winner too, people don't bring that up. You know what I'm saying? Him being a champion, you know what I'm saying? As a starter, one of the greatest Italian goalkeepers of his generation, not named Buffon or Toldo, you know what I'm saying? I think those were the guys at that time, and he was one of the great penalty stoppers, of his time. And him being 6'1", that's very impressive. He was really good at saving penalties. So that he's an underrated Premier League legend. He stayed with Chelsea. He was a loyal servant. You know what I'm saying? When Petr Cech came in, he still stayed. And his career spanned also to the Spurs. You know what I mean? But Kudicini, people forget that Petr Cech was replacing a legend, and one of the better goalkeepers, probably one of the more underappreciated players in Premier League history, definitely in Chelsea history. So moving on, most underrated Premier League right back of all time, Lauren, Cameroonian international, member of the Invincibles, the complete right back. He could do it all. But for some reason, he's not mentioned as one of the best right backs of all time, period. But, I mean, when I saw Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira do their all-time Manchester United / Arsenal 11 combined, and it was just a consensus that, yeah, him at right back. No debate. I mean, Neville wasn't even in discussion. The so-called GOAT right back of Premier League history. I'm just saying, it says a lot, because I have the same thing. And then Roy Keane, he didn't even really. I'm just saying, it wasn't even a debate. So that calls into question: is Gary Neville really this GOAT right back that people claim him to be? Because I don't think he's anywhere close to being a GOAT right back in Premier League history. Especially the way they just brought up Lauren, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's better." So moving on. I didn't mean to rant on Gary Neville, but I think he's one of the more overrated players in Premier League history. Now moving on. Ledley King, because remember, we're doing a 4-4-2 because that's what Claudio Ranieri used to win the title. Okay, so we're doing 4 across the back, 4 in the midfield, 2 up front. Now, the center back here, Ledley King. He's one of the more underappreciated center backs due to his injuries, but people forget he was literally playing without I'm talking about like missing components in his knee, literally, and just playing on it like it was nothing. And Thierry Henry, it still stands out. Look it up. He mentions him, Ledley King, as one of the harder Premier League defenders, or I think of all time. I think he was saying Premier League defenders. He said he was one of the hardest ones he had to play against. And Thierry Henry really doesn't have problems with most center backs. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. Ledley King's English too, so I don't want to hear people talking about I'm biased. I'm being objective. These are one of the more underappreciated players I'm putting on here. Completely objective. Next, the other center back underappreciated, Kolo Touré, another member of the Invincibles. Doesn't get the credit that he deserves because really outside of the Arsenal career, and it doesn't help that he played for Man City for a little bit. And it doesn't help that he was part of the Liverpool team, but that defense was trash, and he was one of the reasons why. But on that Arsenal team, Kolo Touré is a guy that does not get beat. I'm talking about 1v1. I'm talking about like forwards couldn't run past him. Simple as that. That's what I'm just gonna tell you about Kolo Touré. It couldn't. Forwards couldn't just use their speed to run past. You had to come up with another way to get past him by doing that. That was not gonna work on Kolo. made a lot of explosive runs forward with the ball. He was really good on the ball. He was exactly what Arsene Wenger was looking for. Ah, man. So now the most underappreciated left back in Premier League history. And this really, Alexander Kolarov, and I think it's pretty straightforward. If you have Trent as your all-time greatest right back, and the way Liverpool described Trent as generational and all this stuff, and they literally list the qualities, you're literally describing Kolarov. Literally describing Kolarov. That's all I'm going to say about that. And also, Kolarov is known as the Serbian Roberto Carlos. And I'm just saying, I don't like when people do comparisons like that. But for somebody like me that can be very critical, that's pretty accurate. And people, you can't look at the dribbling. No. Kolarov was legit. He had a wicked left foot. I'm talking about his left foot. If he shoots, you better block it. You better block it. That's what I'm gonna say. And he can cross. He could do that. And that left foot of his is still wicked. Still wicked at 36, 37 years old. So moving on. We're gonna move on to our two center mids now. And here's the thing. Hagar Graves, he doesn't play like the typical English center mid. This is another guy where injuries kind of robbed him of what more he could have been. But trust me, the respect he gets from his peers, Hagar Graves was as solid as it comes in the center midfield. And really, when he was at his best, he was world class. People might not agree with me on that one, but I'm trying to be I'm telling you, if you watched him play, which I did, you know what I mean. And he's not the typical Englishman too. He's very humble. You know what I'm saying? He's very, very humble guy. But I think he has like dual Canadian citizenship. I think he used to live in Canada, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, Hagar Graves, he could do it all in the midfield, bro. He was very complete in that midfield. You know, unfortunately, you know, people just go by everything that Alex Ferguson says. So it was interesting that he was taking shots at Hagar Graves, even though he literally did nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? And his response was very professional too. But like I said, you know, Ferguson, he's the greatest Premier League manager of all time. So he's the Don Dada, you know what I mean, of English football. So basically anything that he says goes, and really not. It's a few people that really challenged him. You know what I'm saying. So Hagar Graves is really up there, in my opinion. He could do everything in the midfield. Now, the other underrated center mid I want to put up there, Paul Ince. Now, like I said, the average football fan probably don't even know who that is. Obviously, I wasn't alive to see him at his best. But, like I said, Inter fans love him. You know, I know I'm supposed to stick on the Premier League, but once he went to Inter, they love him, and he's in Italy, and I don't want to bring that up. Why? But I'm just saying, Paul Ince, one of the most complete midfielders, and he was one of the original members of Sir Alex Ferguson's like reign of terror. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the first. He was one of the original members of the beginning of the Manchester United dynasty. And, you know, most Manchester United fans are bandwagons, so they won't admit that. They like to put that on, you know, PSG, Manchester City, Chelsea fans, and other fans as well. But, you know, when I bring him up, he really should be in that conversation of greatest Premier League midfielders of all time. But for some reason, he's not, even though amongst his peers he is. If you notice, Roy Keane put him in his all-time 11. I'm just putting it out there. Like I said, that matters. I'm just saying that matters. You know what I'm saying? nothing but positive things to say about this man. And so does everybody else except for Fergie. They fell out a little bit, but I'm just saying, his play style, you know, not there was not a lot of midfielders like him, clearly. So now we will move on to who I believe are the two most underrated wingers of all time in Premier League history. And when I bring up one of these names, you're not going to like it. But I think, let me see, who do I have next? I should have, exactly, Aaron Lennon. So after the next winger I'm going to bring up, you might not like this. But Aaron Lennon, let me just tell you this. He's the most underrated. He is the fastest player I've ever seen, with and without the ball. I'm talking about his touch was legit. I'm talking about his speed on and off the ball. It matches, bro. And I'm just saying, he was just so fast that really to get by a defender, it did not take him much. He got criticized for him always delaying that final ball, and meaning this, he would delay his crosses. But what people don't understand is when you guys as fast as Aaron Lennon, all you have to do is make yourself available. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to try to catch up to him. He'll find you if you're open. You know what I'm saying? That's why him and him and Petr Crouch almost made a perfect duo. He'd come in, make that run. He's so tall, he'd find him every time. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't so hard to find. But he did get but his crossing was as good as anybody in the world, honestly. That was probably the most underrated part of his game, because it was actually the most criticized because he would delay it. But, like I'm saying, he was so fast. People don't even, like, he's playing now, and then they showed like that video of Cristiano Ronaldo and Aaron Lennon, they giving each other dab. They're like, damn, we still here. Hey, yo, but Aaron Lennon's the better. But people don't remember. Aaron Lennon's the fastest person I've ever seen in my life. The fastest soccer player I've ever seen in my life. People say Theo Walcott. And I'm not saying I disagree, but here's the thing with Theo Walcott. He one day he wants to be a forward. He gets informed. Then he steps out of form like, oh, I want to be a winger. Oh, no, I'm meant to be a forward. Oh, no, I'm meant to be a winger. It's just no consistency with this guy. Just no consistency with this guy. And you can say the same thing with Aaron Lennon, but really it was injuries. It was really just those nagging hamstring injuries that would do it. But he was just too fast. That's really what it was. He was so fast. I'm sorry. He was one of probably the fastest player I've ever seen. And I don't understand how he doesn't even get a shout. I don't know how you can be the fastest winger, you know what I'm saying, and not get a shout. But he doesn't. I don't think he got the opportunities in England that he deserved a lot more opportunities. I don't like it when guys like Stuart Downing, you know what I'm saying, guys like that, that I didn't really see the talent with Downing. You know what I'm saying? So when guys like that start getting shouts over Aaron Lennon, who can literally get by anybody just by his speed, and I'm talking about he don't have no poor touch. I'm talking about the ball sticks to him. It matches. If you guys are not old enough to remember, it matches. The speed matches. The ball control. It's scary. Almost. It's scary. Nobody, in my opinion, I've never seen, there hasn't been a wing back that I see that could catch up to him. I haven't seen it. Unless if you can show me a tape, I haven't seen one wing back that could catch up to him. Not one. Simple as. Now, this next name I'm going to bring up, people are going to be like, bro, why are you bringing a pedophile in this? Look, man. Adam Johnson was a legit talent. Let's forget about the off the field stuff. I'm talking about his left foot. he didn't really get the chances at Manchester City that he deserved. But he was legit. He was a legit winger. And he was a I'm not saying he was tall. I think he was about 5'11", 6 feet tall. I'm just saying his skill. I'm just saying he was skillful, graceful, speed, can cross the ball. He could play on the right hand side, left hand side. He was legit, bro. He was legit. And mind you, a lot of English names. I think almost all of these guys is English that I've picked. Definitely in the midfield. Yeah, a lot of these guys I pick is English. So, like I said, I don't want to hear that bias stuff. I'm telling you, it's not like I'm just saying. Adam Johnson was legit. Anybody that remember how he played, or the few times that if you saw him with Manchester City or Sunderland, you know what I'm saying. But that guy, he was legit. He was a legit. I think at his best, and if he went to the right club, I think he had the potential to be world class. You can disagree with me. But I'm just saying I know what I saw. I know what I saw with this guy. He was legit. It's a shame that he, you know, whatever he got caught up with, we got caught up with it. We don't got to talk about this right now. Dallo, Dallo. Yo. Dallo, Dallo. Oh, man. Only real ones know why I'm singing that song. Let's move on. Let's move on. I ain't shit for that. I ain't shit for that. Jesus! That was wrong. I'm wrong for that. Now, let me go to the two most underrated forwards in Premier League history. Right? Dimitar Berbatov. Like I said, needless to say, another guy who fell out with Fergie at the end of his tenure. But like I said, with Berbatov, it's pretty simple. Berbatov has the best first touch I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking about of any player of any league. Best first touch I've ever seen in my life. That's including Zidane. So now I'm gonna just leave it at that. And his quality, his qualities, but it just shows. Most people don't even know that about him. You know, they like to say he was lazy. You know, I don't like I said. You know, English players they don't they don't get how like they just think like everything's about tackle and high knee tackles. It's more to it than that. There's a reason why Edin Dzeko at age like 35, 36 still has a career. You know what I'm saying? And why guys like Wayne Rooney burned out too quick. You know what I'm saying? You know, they always say, you know, hard work beats talent, but you need talent, bro. And Berbatov was that guy, talent wise, and really should be getting more shouts as one of the greatest Premier League strikers. You know, maybe the numbers might not say that, but I'm just saying his quality. To me, I don't even think there's gonna be anybody in Bulgaria close to his talent coming out of there, because his talent was no joke. Dimitar Berbatov was no joke. That's, like I said, greatest first touch I've ever seen from any player. Now, this next player I'm gonna put up there. People are gonna be like, why do you put him up there? He's underrated. Once you see him, you're gonna see why. Andy Cole might be the most underrated striker of all time. Just across of all leagues. He might go down as one of the most underrated. If you look at his numbers, bro, and I think maybe it's because of the England thing, maybe because of the 1 goal and 15 appearances for England, and maybe people held that against him. But I don't understand why when it comes to talking about greatest Premier League strikers, he don't get a shout. They kind of just mention him as an afterthought, even though his numbers, I'm talking about he's third of all time scoring. And I'm talking about the numbers are similar with Shearer, like Alan Shearer. It's only Wayne Rooney and and Shearer with better numbers. And I think Aguero, I'm not sure, but from the last time I checked, it was only Shearer and Wayne Rooney with better numbers. And I'm just saying, and with these guys, I'm just saying, and with Andy Cole, he only took only one of those goals that he scored were penalties. One. So he would like Alan Shearer was taking all the set pieces, all the penalties for sure. Probably took a couple free kicks. Wayne Rooney, he'd be taking corners, he'd be taking the free kicks, even though when he wasn't supposed to. He was taking all the penalties. So I'm just saying, if you compare and contrast that with Andy Cole's numbers, I don't understand why. Like to me, as a striker, I rank him higher than Rooney, but he don't get a shout. I don't know why that is. Everybody knows that he's quality, and Manchester United fans obviously love him, but I don't understand why he gets overlooked like crazy. I don't get it. I don't get it. Because especially you start looking at the goal tally numbers, you're like, whoa, there's really nobody that had better numbers than him. And he didn't even take set pieces, bro. He didn't take no penalties. And to get the numbers that he got, because people know him more for the Dwight York, Andy Cole partnership. You know what I'm saying? And I think that maybe people look at him as like a system player. I don't know what it is, but Andy Cole, he really should get, like, I'm talking about when people talking about, okay, let me make a greatest Premier League 11. Andy Cole should be a first name, but he's not. I think to the average fan, he's not. I don't know why that is. He just, like, people see his name, but they don't put him amongst the greats. I think the same thing is gonna happen to Immobile because of his lackluster performances for Italy. But Immobile's goal tally, I'm talking about, he's gonna be underrated. He's gonna go down as underrated. Higuain's gonna go down as underrated. He's gonna be. I think Andy Cole's definitely gonna go down as one of those real underrated strikers that I'm talking about did it at the highest level, but because I guess the international play wasn't good. But here's the thing with England, you can't hold that against these English players because a lot of the managers that came in, they don't know what they're doing. Like, I saw like a lineup. They had Paul. At one time England had Paul Scholes playing at the wing. Paul Scholes at the wing, probably your most intelligent, probably your best center midfielder of all time. You have him playing at the wing. Why? Just so they can make that Gerard Lampard thing work out, or so they can get Beckham in that lineup. They set up the team so all the stars could play together. That's how they set up their teams instead of picking the best players, for the right formation, for the right game plan, and the right manager. And guys like Andy Cole suffers because of this. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if Italy never exiled Balotelli, I think that would have. I think because after the World Cup, they didn't really partner up. They only partnered up Balotelli and Immobile probably one time in the 2014 World Cup, and that's because Immobile kind of came out of nowhere, and so then they had to start Immobile. So I think the more times, because Balotelli got exiled from the team, I think the more times they were able to play together, if they were able to develop that chemistry, that would have Balotelli would have helped Immobile's career. But like I said, I don't know what mafia person that Balotelli got mad. They held that against him. So that's my in-depth analysis, So just to go over it, it's missing my center backs. So just to go over it, Ranieri, the most underrated manager. Lauren, the right back. Ledley King and Kolo Touré at center back. Kolarov at left back. Ince and Hagar Graves running the midfield. Aaron and Lennon and Adam Johnson on the wings. Berbatov and Andy Cole. All right. These are the most underrated players. And also, I'm going to mention some other names, too, for underrated. Let's talk about Jermaine Defoe. Jermaine Defoe is very underrated. up front. Another Englishman, right? Another underrated forward, Edin Dzeko, Carlos Tevez. How about Ruud van Nistelrooy? I don't think he gets the credit for him being the poacher that he was. Robbie Keane. How about some one season wonders like Papi Cisse? Nah. I'll say this though. That 5 month stint in the 2011-2012 season, he was as good as any striker in Europe, Papi Cisse, bar none. Um, how about, you know what I'm saying? How about some other underrated wingers like Nani? How about Riyad Mahrez? I think he's already up there in terms of the one of the greatest Premier League wingers of all time, and he did it on Leicester City. You know what I'm saying? Also on left, how about in the center mid, you got Michael Essien. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves for being that rock for Chelsea for many, many years. They call him the Bison. You know what I'm saying? They don't just give nicknames like out there like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I said, even for right back, how about Aspilicueta, Pablo Zabaleta? Guys like that. These guys are very, very underrated. And goalkeeper, there's a lot of people. I'll say Joe Hart's underrated because people act like he ain't shit, but he got more Golden Gloves than a lot of people. But people just only remember the bad with him because it kind of just went downhill after that Euro 2016 thing. England needed a scapegoat, and he was the guy. You know what I'm saying? So that's really it. Like I said, how many Englishmen I put? I put a lot of English people on there. What's that? 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, seven out of the 11 Englishmen. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear that bias stuff. Do your research on some of these guys, bro, and see what some of these guys have to say about them. Especially guys like Andy Cole, guys like Lauren, and I'm just saying, watch that interview with Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane when they were picking their 11. I'm just saying it was no qualms, which makes me question Gary Neville's his and people talk about how he was a smart player. I don't think he was, and I think his football intellect is very overrated. And I always thought that, and he proved it when he got the Valencia job. He was way out of his depth. You know what I'm saying? So there's players I can tell that they're gonna be great managers. A lot of the English players are not as smart as you think, bro. A lot of these guys are not that smart. Just a heads up. But yeah, I think that's it for today. I think I'm good.